Alright, this is a rough draft of some video topics I want to discuss before people start trying my exercises. Don't mind the wind, it's pretty dang windy out there. So basically, the majority of what I'm going to teach on this page is going to be how to hold yourself during standing core exercises, how to hold your body, how to line yourself up, what to co-contract, which means, what muscles are working together to contract and such, how to hold your alignment through the whole body. So I'm going to talk about toes and feet position. Starting from the bottom up, we'll start from the bottom, work our way up, and talk about what the body should be doing as aligned, as alignment. So toes and feet, in my opinion, have a natural tendency to point outwards. We call it toe out. When you're walking, when you're standing, it's easier to point your toes out. You get a little bit bigger of a base of support, and it's just more comfortable, I guess, for the body to just kind of relax into that position with the toes pointing slightly outwards. So we want to start to train ourselves not to do that. To basically point our toes straight ahead and hold them in that point blank, point straight ahead position when we're doing any of the exercises in the standing position. So that's the first thing I'm going to address as far as the alignment. This next thing would be the knees. So we had toes and feet pointing straight ahead. Knees, basically, there's a few ways to think about them, but the majority of what we're going to do is going to be in a standing mini squat position, and it'll say like 15 to 30 degrees of knee bend, and that's going to be what we're going to call a neutral mini squat position. So your knees are going to be, when you look down at them, they should be right over the middle of your feet, slightly to the front of your ankle joint. And so when you're in that mini squat position, you look down and your knees should be right over the middle of the feet. If they're more forward, which is very common, the knees translate forward, which means they start moving anterior when you squat, and that's the worst thing you can do for your knees, especially your patellas, your kneecaps, in my opinion. So we want to get those knees lined up over the center of the feet when we're in the standing mini squat, 15 to 30 degree mini squat position. So that's two. And then we work our way up to the hips. So basically, when I see people perform a squat, and this is like the king of the core exercise in my opinion, the squat, so I'll talk about it plenty. They start to squat, their knees move anterior, they move forward towards their toes, and they don't even engage their hips because they were never taught that way correctly when they were young. Unless they did a job where they had to learn body mechanics and such, then they have a decent version of a squat. So we want to start to train ourselves to hold the weight on the hips, and when we're in that squat position, we're basically just holding ourselves back on the hips and off of the knees, and you'll feel it or you won't. If you don't feel like you're holding your weight on your hips, and you're not holding your weight on your hips, and the majority of people hold their weight on their thighs and on their knees versus holding the weight on their hips. So we want to change that pretty quickly too. Then we're going to work our way to what we all know as the core. And in this reference, we're going to say the rectus, the upper and lower belly muscles. The rectus abdominis is your big six-pack muscle, or the six-pack underneath, whatever fat or such you have there. And then your obliques, which are your sides, we call them the love handles. There are muscles under there too, even if there's fat. And then the muscles called the erector spinae, which pull your spine erect and straight. All right. So core co-contraction of the rectus, the obliques, and the muscles that pull your spine straight, to me, is very, very important. That's kind of the brace for your lumbar spine, your low back, even your lower mid back, so your lower mid back would be your lower thoracic spine, and it kind of braces that area too. So that would be that. And then we're working up to the upper back. So the upper back, to me, there's a very good tendency of people, or a natural tendency for them, to slump over a little bit because gravity is exerting an effect, pulling us into flexion. It's pulling us over, rounding our upper backs as we get older, and controlling that by erecting the upper back kind of relaxing the shoulders as we do that. We don't want to tense the shoulders up. That is key as well. So basically when you're doing squats, when you're doing trunk movements, even different directions, we want to do it through that upper back erect position. We don't want to slump over and strain our back. We want to control it. And the upper back is so important to me that, just sitting here as I'm straightening my upper back, I can feel my weight transferring into my hip muscles, into my glutes, versus if I slump, then I even start feeling like I'm, straining on my thighs. So I always want to, focus on that as well. So we're thinking about the spine in general to go along with that concept of, the upper back being straight. We want it to be nice and long, right? So elongation of the spine would be, if you think there's a string coming out of the top of your head, or a pole, and that pole is pulling you up towards the sky, right? So we're thinking like we're elongating that spine. The spine is being compressed on a daily basis every time we sit, standing. It's just like gravity's pressuring down on us, and to me that's, the wear and tear of the body comes from gravity's effect through us, and the spine is definitely a weight-bearing, unit inside the body that is affected by that a lot. So we're thinking about long spine, all right? So the last thing would be, with the neck and shoulders. So I like to focus on a straight ahead position of the neck and a slight chin tuck in, so I'm kind of protecting my neck when I start moving forwards and angles and things like that, or squatting. I'm controlling eye level, I'm controlling the chin, and I'm holding my shoulders kind of relaxed up here. So the upper trapezius muscles, these guys here, which we all know, we hold our tension there, those muscles will pull the head forward when they're tight, and they'll just pull the shoulder blades out of alignment, and they're just the problem causer. So we want to relax them so we can engage more of the trunk and the core when we're doing the movements. So that's basically a start on alignment. Just a quick demonstration. I'll do more videos on this, but let's see if it'll even come out on this video. So basically, I look at my feet. I put my feet about shoulder width apart. My toes are pointed straight ahead. I have a natural tendency for a little bit of an anterior pelvic tilt with the squats, the heavy squats that I do and such, but I have trained my core to kind of compensate for that. But for our purposes, we're thinking toes straight ahead, knees over the middle of the feet, core, so weight on the hips, core co-contraction, abs, sides, back, thoracic, upper back, elongation and straight, chin tucked in and shoulders relaxed. So that's basically it right there if it even comes out on this video. And then basically whatever we do, we're doing through that position there. So we can keep the weight on the hips, engage that core, protect our upper back, protect our shoulders and such. Thank you.